Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for, what is the date? January 17th, 2024 of the Cathedral City Planning Commission. May I kindly ask for a roll call, please?
Okay. Commissioner Thompson?
Present.
Commissioner Lowe?
Can't hear you.
Commissioner Lowe?
Present.
Commissioner Lee?
Present.
Vice Chair Malikoff?
Present.
Chair Daly?
Present.
Let the record show all commissioners are present.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to invite everybody in on the dais and in the audience to please stand for the flag salute. Thank you. Moving on, may I have a confirmation of the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. All right. Item 1 is the approval of the minutes of December 20th, 2023. And at this time, I'd like to hear a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Sorry, do I have a second? I missed. Yes? Okay. Any changes, discussion, etc.? Okay, well, let's vote. Did you?
I guess. Who seconded?
Somebody's got a second.
You didn't click when you... Whatever.
I know, it's a new technology, folks. All right.
Let the record show a motion was made by Commissioner Thompson and seconded by Vice Chair Malikoff to approve the minutes for December 20th, approved 5-0.
Thank you. Item 2 is public comments. The public is invited to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, please wait to be recognized under that item. Except for special circumstances, the Brown Act prohibits the Planning Commission or staff from responding or taking action on any comments made by the public unless it pertains to an item that appears on the agenda. All speakers should give their name and city of residence. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I understand that we do have some speakers who would like to be heard on an item not on the agenda, and I'll start with Mr. Rick Smith.
Good evening.
Please state your name
Thanks
and
for
city of
letting me,
residence.
Pardon me?
Please state your name and city of residence.
Yeah, Rick Smith, and I live in 28421 Avenue La Vista here in Cathedral City in the North Flood End, which is beautiful now. I've been down here about 7 years, and I keep an eye on because we've had people dumping stuff. Anyway, now that they've removed all the dirt, it's beautiful. It's all leveled out. It looks good and all that stuff. Anyway, long story short, I was here about July with a bunch of other people in our area because they talked about the senior care facility coming in, and we seem to like that, overall. A few people were a little worried about ambulances, but we can hear ambulances from the freeway anyway, and it's going to be nice to see that developed. I'm keeping my eye on what's going on over there so people aren't dumping stuff. I'm the guy that's home all day. I'm retired from Riverside County, and I'm just around. I've been kind of an advocate for things I believe in. Anyway, so what's happening? I saw a guy out there taking some measurements. I said, so what's going on out here? What are they doing? He said, they're putting in a housing track, and it seems like it's fast-tracked by the city, it seems like. And he showed me the grid and showed the houses and all that stuff. So I'm concerned, and my neighbors are concerned, because we haven't heard anything about that. It's between Los Gatos and Avelina. Actually, it doesn't go up to Avelina. It only goes up to about my house. And between Date Palm and Avenue La Vista. And they don't look bad to me, but we'd sure like to know about it. I mean, is it going to be regular housing? Is it going to be apartments? What is it going to be? Do you guys know anything about it?
Unfortunately, we're not able to respond to non-agenda items.
Oh, okay. So I guess what I'm saying is, when something's new like that, like we got notified about it, about the senior care complex thing. Are we going to be notified if there's going to be houses in that area so we have a chance to talk about it? I'm not asking if that's going on. I'm asking you, when something, a development comes in, is that standard to notify the neighbors so we know what's going on?
I understand.
I'll make
If
a
I may.
comment once the speaker leaves the lectern.
Unfortunately, the law prevents us from responding directly to your questions without an item on the agenda, but
Well, no, I'm not asking about, you can't even tell me that.
can't even
So,
tell you.
If I may,
that
Mr.
That you
Chairman,
don't have a public hearing when developments are coming up. I'm not asking for anything specific.
What you could do is make an appointment and see staff, and they can explain to you the public hearing requirements and show you a map of future projects, and that should answer your question.
Okay, now, so what staff do I ask? Oh, good, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I have a second speaker slip. Mario Rodriguez.
please state your name and city of residence.
Hello, my name is Mario Alberto Rodriguez. You can call me Super Mario for short. I live in the residence of Cathedral City, California.
Thank you.
I wanted to discuss, bring it to your attention that I live on the Hermosillo area, or that's the street, by the Panorama Park area. And I believe we need like speed bumps and hopefully light posts, more lighting for the street. The cars pass by pretty fast, like probably 50 or above in a residential zone, residential street. There's families and little kids and I'm like across the street from my house. There's a family with kids, and I'm afraid one of them is going to get hit, like while they're outside in the front. And lighting would be good too. The only lighting source for the houses are the light fixtures in the front by the garage bay doors or the front door. So I would appreciate some discussion or some discussion and attention to that matter. Okay, thank you.
Again, maybe Mr. Firestein can take your name and number and refer you to the appropriate staff person to help you with that and what the appropriate commission would be.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Molikoff. Should I go?
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other individuals in the audience who would like to be heard on an item not appearing on the agenda? No? Okay. Seeing none, we will close public comments at this time and move on to non-public. Ooh, it's a non-public hearing item. Excuse me. 3A.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Happy New Year. This is our first meeting of the new year. So this is a continuation of our discussion that we had back in December. And just very briefly, I'll go over that. This has to do with the Senate Bill 9 that was adopted by the state legislature. So this law basically would allow for 2 housing unit developments or lot splits in single-family residential zones. And it requires us to establish excuse me, objective development design and subdivision standards. Not sure why I'm not in this boat. Here you go. And just very quickly, this is a table that shows for a 2-unit development, how many dwelling units you could potentially have. This is for a non-lot split. You could potentially have up to 4 units. But once you do an urban lot split, each resulting lot would have a maximum of 2 primary units on it. And these were some samples that were provided last year that showed 2-unit developments, different variations that could be developed for a non-lot split home or property. And again, this could result in up to potentially 4 units. Now, for an urban lot split, each resultant lot could have up to 2 primary units. This is just another configuration, but there could be different ones. So back in December, we did have a discussion with regard to a draft ordinance that included the standards and the process to ministerially look at a 2-unit development or an urban lot split. And staff had some questions for the commission asking for some input. This had to do with unit size and also setbacks between dwelling units. In particular, the ordinance, the way it was originally drafted, indicated that a primary unit could not be more than 800 square feet in size. And if the commission wanted to give us direction to allow for larger units based upon a larger original lot size. And the commission, their initial feedback was that 800 square foot home might not be in keeping with the development pattern in the surrounding area, and the commission didn't want to see little homes. There was also concern about potentially density and bulk. And some of the feedback was, why not just defer back to the underlying limitations on lot coverage? So we said we would look at that. We also had a question about setbacks, whether setbacks should be based upon maybe the height of the units and the type of units. So we were proposing something between either 5 or 10 feet. Again, the commission asked us to take a look at that and come back with further discussion. And so what we did is we looked at the prevailing lot patterns in the neighborhoods in the city. And this discussion really is going to talk about the 2-unit development or 2 primary units, because once a property owner is proposing an accessory dwelling unit, there are already standards in place that would regulate that. So when we look at these standards, we're really talking about when there's 2 primary units. So in the panorama area, this was in the staff report, but you can kind of see the prevailing lot pattern in this area. This is a traditional R1 7,200 minimum lot size district. Randomly looking at different lots within this area, I found that the lot sizes do range between 8,200 square feet and 10,000 square feet. So they do vary. This is just a blow up, and you can see in this closer view of areas in this area, you do have some properties that are vacant, and you have some properties that are developed and probably wouldn't support a second unit, and some that potentially could support maybe an ADU, but the prevailing lot pattern is going to dictate what ultimately is going to happen here. Commissioner Lowe did ask earlier, with some of these homes, it couldn't support an urban lot split because we wouldn't have a 20-foot street frontage, because the home pattern isn't going to allow for that. And in those instances, we're not always going to have properties that are going to be able to support an urban lot split. Again, prevailing lot pattern is going to dictate ultimately what happens. And so in those instances, you couldn't do an urban lot split, but you could do something different under the provisions of SB 9. And so what we did is provided a table of the required lot sizes for this zone district, which is 7,200 square feet. And then we provided also a comparison if a 7,200 square foot lot were subdivided under an urban lot split, one parcel would have to be at least 2,880 square feet, the other one about 4,300. And so we looked at the potential lot coverages. This zone district has a maximum lot coverage of 40%, so that's why that's in bold. But if we went with less, which we wouldn't do because we wouldn't recommend that, we should go with at least the requirement in the zone district. And if we went more, so 45% would allow for more lot coverage, obviously. This is, for an urban lot split, what the envelope would be for development. So you can see it's basically a ratio of what that size of the lot is. The one thing that they don't necessarily correlate is that unit size doesn't necessarily correlate to lot coverage. because lot coverage is just looking at the footprint that covers the property. It doesn't account for a two-story unit. So a two-story home could have a footprint of 800 square feet, but if it's two-story, now you have 1,600 square feet. So there's not a direct correlation, and we think that's important when we start talking about what ultimate development could be on a lot. I also looked at a area that has a larger lot size. So this is the Cove. This was also included in the packet. So the Cove has actually three different districts of varying lot sizes. This particular area requires a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. And a random review of these lots, they vary between 13 and 20,000 square feet. But you can see they're wider and they're larger. And so when you look at potential lot coverages under the existing zoning requirements and then under an urban lot split, you can see how the lot coverage adjust based upon the size of that parcel. So all that to say that when we went and looked at prevailing lot patterns, we felt that it would be much more clear for a developer and much more clear for staff looking at these type of projects that may come in. And by the way, we are not sure how many urban lot splits or SB 9 two-unit housing projects would come into the city. Right now, we do have one. This particular developer I spoke with, he looks for larger lots. So the lot he's subdividing has a minimum lot size requirement of 7,200 square feet, but he won't do anything on a lot that size. He wants at least 10,000 square feet. And so again, it's really going to be based on that developer's, what their preference is, and also the prevailing development standards in the area. That's going to dictate that. He may be the only one we see come in. We may get more, but we're not really sure how many we're going to have. But we are required by state law to have at least provisions for this. But ultimately, when we went through this exercise, we just wanted it to be clear for everybody what the standard would be. So we believe just defaulting to the lot coverage that's allowable under the zone district is probably the way to go. I think members of the commission did mention that seems simpler. With regard to setbacks between dwelling units, our recommendation to address a little bit of the bulk that the commission expressed potential concern about would be to require a 10-foot setback, but allow it to be reduced to 5 feet between detached structures when all structures are single story. So that will kind of adjust to address the bulk issue. So the draft ordinance that was provided to the commission in the staff report did have a few changes to it. One was to clarify that on resulting lots, only 2 primary units could be constructed. I think that the draft had allowed for primary units and ADU units, but state law indicates it's 2 primary units. We did delete language that limits the floor area to a maximum of 800 square feet and instead revised it to allow for at least 800 square feet. There are a few other changes that may result as we have this discussion and when we come back to the Planning Commission. But what staff would recommend at this point is for the commission to continue the discussion, provide us some input, and then at that point, I think what we may end up doing is noticing it for a public hearing for the commission to take action on and move it over to the city council for ultimate action. And with that, I'm happy to respond to questions.
Thank you so much. I'll start with Vice Chair Malakoff. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay. Chair Thompson?
On the setbacks in the draft of the original proposal, there was a encroachment for the easement or the spacing setback around the property, not between the buildings on the property, that particular one. Is that still, they can be encroach into that setback on the for their neighbors' parcels?
So the setbacks, there will be setback requirements, and let me find that section. So on stamp page 18, so the development has to have at least a 4-foot setback at the side and rear. And so that is a lesser setback than is permitted for a single-family development on an R1 zone. But in addition to those setbacks of the 4 feet on the side and rear, they still need to meet the front yard setback, which is 20 feet in the R1 zone. And they would also, under our proposal, maintain a setback between detached structures.
Okay. So under this, the draft, it would be a minimum of 4 feet around the edges, the side and the back. with
Correct.
The easement, or the 20 feet up front. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lowe?
I have one question. Where does the definition of a primary dwelling unit come from? Does that come from SB 9? Is that in our municipal code? Because it's somewhat confusing in the real estate world. A primary unit would indicate an owner occupant, a primary dwelling unit. So what's the differentiation, I guess, between this definition of a primary dwelling unit and an ADU, for instance?
So we have accessory dwelling units, we have accessory uses or accessory structures, and in the zoning codes, in the zoning world, to have an accessory structure or use on a property, you have to have a primary use. And so you have the home, which is considered the primary dwelling unit, and then you'll have an accessory dwelling unit. So that's the distinction. I don't believe we have it defined in our ordinance, but it just means other than the accessory dwelling unit.
Because my recollection is that subsequent to the lot split, the residence on the original parcel has to be owner occupied.
There is a requirement for occupancy by the owner under a urban lot split. It's a minimum of 3 years.
But that's my point. Is
Yeah.
So that residence on the original parcel, that, or I guess, if we had a totally vacant piece of land, one residence on one of the parcels has to be occupied for 3 years by the owner of that parcel.
Correct. And Commissioner Lowe, I apologize, I didn't respond to this particular question you asked. When the code says primary dwelling unit, it's not referring to occupancy.
So what does it mean?
It just means that it's other than the accessory, it's primary. So you have a,
Okay, so what's the differentiation? I mean, what is it about a primary dwelling unit that makes it a primary dwelling unit and not an accessory dwelling unit?
it's going to be the standard, and under the urban lot split provisions, you can only have 2 primary units and not a primary and accessory dwelling unit. I think ultimately, though, they're dwelling units and they can be occupied.
Okay, I think we're talking past each other.
Okay.
So there's got to be a differentiation between what constitutes a primary dwelling unit and what constitutes an accessory dwelling unit.
So the ADU and JADU, those are defined in state law, and I believe that the definition of a primary dwelling unit, it's a unit other than an ADU or a JADU.
If I may help just a little bit. So I do have the HCD guidelines for SB 9, and they say that a primary unit, also called a residential dwelling unit, is a typical single-family residence or a residential unit within a multifamily residential development. A primary unit is distinct from an ADU or JADU. And really, just to kind of backtrack to kind of help with the idea, when this first came out, a lot of people were calling it like the duplex law, because ideally, if you have a split, if you're allowed 2 primary units, the argument is you can have 2 ADUs for each primary unit, and then suddenly have 4 residential units on a lot. So that's kind of like the difference, exactly what the director said.
Okay. Well, it's not clear to me, but it doesn't need to be.
Clear as
Yeah.
mud?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Lee?
Just one point on table 1 or table 2, doesn't matter. You have those different lot coverages, 35, 40, and 45. And the 40% is the current coverage for that type?
Yes.
And are you simply giving those others as comparison? Do you want us to look at whether they should be an exception for this type of dwelling?
They were provided as comparisons. Our recommendation is to stay with the underlying 40%,
Okay. All right.
but it is a discussion, so.
Well, no, that's fine. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was going to get out of here without any questions. But that ratio, that coverage, is in reference to the ADU on the new lot after a split, or there's no ADU on the new lot?
No.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, you were right, totally clear. All right, any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much.
I guess I would ask the commission if they would like us to go ahead and just move forward now for the public hearings for the commission's actions. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Are we in agreement that they should move forward? Yeah?
The discussion about the definition of a primary dwelling unit, ADU and JADU are listed in section 114, at least the write-up says so, but the definition of a primary dwelling unit, I think the fact that we had this discussion, it would warrant having a definition.
We can do that. Yeah.
Other than that, good to go.
I agree.
Mr. Chair, one clarification. You had asked a question about an urban lot split and the ratio for the coverage, and then I didn't understand the response.
My question was that ratio coverage. Okay, that ratio coverage is it referring to the ADU on the new lot following the split? Because there'd be a second lot.
Right.
Okay, that was my question.
And then there would be a separate coverage requirement on the new lot.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I thought I heard something else.
It's okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I appreciate the department's work on that. Thank you. I guess we'll move on to item number 4, commissioners' comments. Are there any comments from the commissioners?
The only comment I have is just a further discussion.
Okay.
So when you do one of these urban lot splits, my understanding is you cannot have an ADU or a JADU. You can only have 2 primary dwelling structures per new lot after the lot split. Okay? So there are no ADUs, JADUs when you do one of these SB9 lot splits. The concept of the coverage of the lot is the footprint of the structures.
Right.
So the footprint of the structures, as, again, sort of 2 separate issues, cannot be more than 35, 40, 45, whatever ratio they come up with on either lot. So you have a maximum coverage, lot coverage, from the footprint of the building that would match up with whatever the guidelines are.
I got it. I understand what the lot coverage means. Yeah. It was what it applied to was my question. Are you comfortable with that? Okay. Any other commissioners' comments?
Yes, I want to come back to that. We sort of touched on it last month or last meeting as well. And this evening's meeting is another good example of the issue, which is, rightly enough, people want to have their say about other issues, and because of Brown, we're not able to take up those issues. And so we had a little bit of a flap here of trying to figure out how to get the right information to those people without breaking the rules, breaking the law. I think a simple solution might be, and staff can consider whether they want to do this, but let's just put together a little note, a little flyer, which is handed to everybody giving in a speaker note. And it will say, you know, if this item's not on the agenda, the commissioners can't address it directly, but you can call this number, you can speak to this person, you can write to this email address in order to get answers to your question. And then I think we can really serve the public a bit better by letting them know how to contact the staff that can answer the question.
We can evaluate something like that. I think every case is a little bit different. I think the speakers tonight, two separate issues. One was perhaps directed more to John. One was directed perhaps more to me.
Right.
I think handling it the way we did, just having a business card, having a side conversation, it enables us to be responsive in the moment and to direct that accordingly. But we can look at how we can provide some information just to point people to the website, point people to phone number or an email where they can follow up after the meeting to get some information. Surely it's our intent to follow up with everyone that has spoken tonight, and I think we're looking to be responsive to their concerns.
And I do understand the staff try and help everybody if they can, but it's just awkward for the public to come here expecting to be able to speak, but they don't understand the rules, and there's no reason why they should. And we just want to make sure that we're giving them that support after the meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a challenge that's not unique to the Planning Commission.
No.
Every board, commission, and council.
Right.
Yeah.
At council meetings all the time, they seem to say, oh, Mr. So-and-so, you know, please talk to the fire chief and he'll help you with that situation. And I think we're allowed to do that.
Yes.
That was a very confident yes. Okay.
You're not providing a rebuttal, you're not providing a response, but...
Well, it is a response. In fact, it's arguably even an action.
As the parliamentarian of the meeting, you're referring someone to staff for follow-up. I would say that's not a violation of the Brown Act.
Okay. And that's what we'll do.
I'll go through you next time.
Yeah, no, it's just fine. All right. Any other commissioners' comments?
Could I ask a question?
Nope. All right. Item number 5, the city attorney report.
Hi, good evening. I am working on a update of all the many legislative items that affect just land use generally. So I will be handing that to staff, and then we're going to evaluate and kind of see what kind of presentation and to try to maybe narrow some of those down, because I don't think you want to hear about 15 to 20 bills, right? But just to really provide an update on the new era of law that's going to be coming forth this year. So
The new era of law.
yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. It's literally like, as soon as you get used to one thing, they're just going to change. And you know, I'm like, who am I speaking to? So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. City planner report.
I would echo the comments from our city attorney and simply say that it is a good discussion with the Planning Commission on all these legislative changes. This is just from one session, and we're going to have more bills coming out. The state is continuing to erode local control, particularly when it comes to housing, and that means that we're going to have to process and present more ordinances to change our processes, to change our codes in response to changes in state law. And I think that would be a good discussion. Even if it were 15 or 20 bills in the staff report, we don't have to highlight them all in front of the commission, but at least to give you a sense of what else is coming. SB 9, as you heard tonight, this is one bill that we need to respond to, but there's already another right behind it, SB 684, that is looking at creating a ministerial process for the subdivision of property zoned multifamily to allow up to 10 units on lots that are less than 5 acres in size. So the land economics may not generate a lot of response for SB 9, but SB 684, it may be different. That may allow for more units and to change the economics where that is more desirable. So that comes into effect July 1st, 2024. And there's other bills that similarly need to take a look at. So I think this would be a good agenda-setting discussion with the Planning Commission so that you're aware of what else is out there behind the bills that we're talking about, and so that we can start programming some of these discussions for the balance of the year. So we'll get that programmed here soon. We have potentially one other item for February 7th, and I'm aware of at least one other item for February as well. So we're going to keep you busy with some other land development activity as well. And the last comment I have, it is Melody's last week. This is her last meeting before the Planning Commission. And wanted to just share that. It's been great working with Melody, myself, and I know that she's had a very successful run here at Cathedral City. So thank you for your service, Melody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you did for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. I wasn't expecting that. I really appreciate it. It's been a great staff, and I just wanted to say it's been an honor working with all of you over the years.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
If I may, Chair. I have a question for the director. What's the status of the apartment building on Cathedral Canyon Drive?
Perennial.
The partially constructed
Yes.
building, that is an existing code compliance case. We're working on it.
Was it the ownership issue resolved?
I believe the owner passed away.
Yes.
And it may have been
Yes.
tied up. I don't know the outcome of that, but we are working on that through code compliance.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the city planner? No? Okay, thank you, sir. Well, with that, at the late hour of 6:37 p.m., we will adjourn. Thank you.
Good night.